What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Lane's Man Cave. In today's video, I am going to be giving out my NFC predictions. Let's go. Be sure to watch my AFC predictions if you haven't already. Starting off with the 16th seed, I got the Giants going 3-14. Rookie wide receiver Malik Neighbors looked like a walking highlight reel at training camp. The only problem is everyone else on the Giants offense. If you still have faith that Daniel Jones can be a good quarterback in the NFL, now would be a good time to give up. Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton are not good receivers, and the O-line is arguably the worst in football. Say what you want about running backs not being a valuable position, but when your replacement for Saquon Barkley is Devin Singletary, there will be a noticeable difference. As great of a coach Brian Daboll is, he will not be able to save this offense. The Giants should have a good front seven. Dexter Lawrence is the best nose tackle in football by a mile. Brian Burns added to a pass rush that already features Kayvon Thibodeau, and Bobby Okereke is one of the league's better linebackers. I can't say anything good about their secondary. Best case scenario, Deonte Banks breaks out into one of the league's better corners, and their floor is not much of a floor, more like a bottomless pit. At 15, I got the Commanders going 4-13. There is a list of great coordinators who did not make good head coaches, and new head coach Dan Quinn is one of them. He was great as the Cowboys' DC these past few years, but in his last head coaching tenure in Atlanta, the Falcons didn't have a lot of success outside of 2016, not to mention the shortcomings of new offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. Rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels is coming off winning the Heisman, but coming into the NFL, he looks extremely raw as a passer, and the Commanders have failed to build a proper team around him. The O-line is one of the worst units in the NFL, and they don't have any quality offensive playmakers outside of Terry McLaurin. The Commanders had the worst defense in football last year and are going into a full season without Montez Sweat or Chase Young. They added a ton of free agents on defense, including defensive end Dorrance Armstrong, linebackers Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu, and safety Jeremy Chin, but none of them, other than Louvu, will be good enough to make this defense above average. At 14, I got the Vikings going 5-12. With J.J. McCarthy out for the year with a torn meniscus, Sam Darnold will be the starting quarterback for the Vikings. But going from Kirk Cousins to Sam Darnold is a big drop-off. Justin Jefferson will be coming back fully healthy, along with Jordan Addison, but we are unsure when T.J. Hawkinson will be coming back from his injury. It looks like the Vikings will be running the ball a lot this year, with Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler. Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill form one of the better tackle duos in the league, but their interior offensive line is average at best. On defense, they lost their best player, Danielle Hunter. He will be replaced by Jonathan Grenard, who is leaving D'Amico Ryan's system, as well as Andrew Van Ginkel and rookie Dallas Turner. Defensive coordinator Brian Flores will need to get the most out of his new pass rushers to make up for the weak defensive interior and secondary. At 13, I got the Saints going 6-11. If there's one head coach that could get fired mid-season, it's Dennis Allen. With Ryan Ramczyk out for the season, rookie offensive tackle Talise Fuaga will have to be a star right out of the gate because we all know how bad Trevor Penning is. This offense in general will be looking a lot different, as longtime OC Pete Carmichael will be replaced by Clint Kubiak. Derek Carr's best days are behind him, but Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are a nice receiving duo. Alvin Kamara is still a good receiving back, but as a runner, he's nothing more than serviceable at this point. On defense, Cameron Jordan is in his twilight years. It doesn't look like Chase Young will ever reach his full ceiling. Demario Davis is still a really good linebacker, but he is 35 and we don't know how many good years he has left. And the secondary will be returning Tyrann Mathieu, and Marshawn Lattimore will be fully healthy. Overall, the Saints are the definition of a mediocre team. At 12, I got the Seahawks going 6-11. Outside of Jim Harbaugh, I believe Mike Macdonald will turn out as the best head coaching hire of the offseason, and Macdonald is bringing in former Washington Huskies offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb as his OC. As far as the roster goes, Geno Smith was a one-year wonder at quarterback and could lose his starting job to Sam Howell at any point in the season. But they have three really good receivers in DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith-Njigba, and a running back tandem of Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. The offensive line is not good at all and will probably be one of the worst units this season. The defense should be a lot better under McDonald, but that's not saying much, as their pass rush was among the worst last season. They did add Uchenna Nwosu, but he will be missing some time to start the year, as well as rookie Byron Murphy. The Seahawks added linebackers Tyrell Dodson and Jerome Baker, and of course Devon Witherspoon had a great rookie year and will only get better. At 11, I got the Buccaneers going 7-10. The Bucs won the NFC South in their first season of the post-Brady era, but don't expect them to replicate that success, with offensive coordinator Dave Canales out of the picture. Baker Mayfield is an average quarterback at best, and the offensive line is weak outside of Tristan Wirfs. Mike Evans will keep doing his thing. Rookie wideout Jalen McMillan adds to the passing game, with Chris Godwin moving to the slot, and the run game could be better after drafting Bucky Irving. The defense has some big names like Vita Vea and Antoine Winfield, and are bringing back safety Jordan Whitehead, who was on their Super Bowl winning team 3 years ago. Levante David is a good linebacker, but he is up there in age, and they lost Shaq Barrett to retirement. Between Dave Canales leaving and other teams in the NFC getting better, the Bucs could easily go from first to worst in the NFC South. At 10, I got the Panthers going 7-10. Speaking of Dave Canales, I'm expecting him to do big things with the Panthers offense this year. Canales is a well-known QB whisperer. He was the QB coach for the Seahawks when Geno Smith won Comeback Player of the Year, and the OC for the Buccaneers last year when Baker Mayfield led them to the playoffs. Bryce Young was put into a horrible situation last year, but every offensive position has improved. The addition of Deontay Johnson gives the Panthers a true number one wideout, and the offensive line added guards Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. Rookie running back Jonathan Brooks will be missing some time, but Canales likes to run the ball a lot, so he should get a lot of carries once he comes back. The Panthers' defense lost Brian Burns, and the only quality starters they have on that side of the ball are Derek Brown and J.C. Horn, but overall, there's no way the Panthers can get worse as a team after what happened last year. At 9, I got the Cardinals going 8-9. Kyler Murray is back and fully healthy, and when Kyler is at his best, he is a top 10 quarterback in this league. The Cardinals drafted Marvin Harrison Jr., who is one of the best wide receiver prospects we've seen in a while, and could easily be a top 10 receiver in year one, and an overlooked group of secondary weapons that includes Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, and Trey McBride, and rookie running back Trey Benson gives the Cards a boost in their run game. The offensive line is still a work in progress. Paris Johnson was just okay as a rookie, but they brought in Jonah Williams and Evan Brown. The Cards' defense is really bad on paper, but Jonathan Gannon is one of the better defensive coaches in the NFL, and if their offense is as good as I think they will be, the defense may not see the field much. The Cardinals are my sleeper team in the NFC, and it would not surprise me at all if they made the playoffs. At 8, I got the Rams going 9-8. As a Rams fan, I like everything we did in the draft and free agency, but Aaron Donald retiring will leave too much of a void. And to add insult to injury, we traded our next best defender, Ernest Jones. Kobe Turner had a great rookie year and will now be the centerpiece of our defensive line. Like I said, I do like what we did in the draft, bringing in edge rusher Jared Verse and defensive tackle Braden Fisk, because the Rams will need as much pass rush as possible to make up for Donald's absence. And their secondary has improved drastically, bringing back Darius Williams and John Johnson, and signing Tre'Davious White and Cameron Curl. The Rams' offense should be just as good as last year, even though I am concerned about Matthew Stafford's age and how much good football he has left in him. But we arguably have the best group of offensive playmakers in football. Kyron Williams is one of the best running backs in the NFL, Cooper Kupp is fully healthy, and Puka Nacua could emerge as a top 5 receiver after having one of the best rookie receiver seasons of all time. Although our tackles aren't great, we should have one of the better offensive lines after signing Jonah Jackson on the interior. At 7, I got the Packers going 10-7. There's a lot of people out there that think the Packers will be a Super Bowl contender and that Jordan Love will win MVP. I won't give out my picks for the Super Bowl or MVP in this video, but I can tell you that either one of those things happening is far-fetched. Jordan Love had a good second half of last season and was good in the playoffs, but he needs to be more consistent. They improved the running back room by adding Josh Jacobs and Marshawn Lloyd. They have a solid receiving room with guys like Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Luke Musgrave, and Tucker Kraft, but eventually the Packers will have to realize that none of them are good enough to be a number one wideout on a contending team. The offensive line is an okay unit, and the defense will be bringing in Xavier McKinney, and Jair Alexander will be back fully healthy. The Packers are the youngest team in football and have expectations through the roof, which means they could go in a variety of directions this year. At 6, I got the Bears going 11-6. The Bears went 7-10 with Justin Fields at quarterback and Luke Getsy at offensive coordinator. Coming into this year, they will have Caleb Williams at quarterback and Shane Waldron at OC. I am all in on Caleb this year and believe he will be a top 10 quarterback right out of the gate and will have one of the best rookie QB seasons of all time. The Bears have a great receiving room, bringing in Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze to a unit that already had DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, and a good running back trio of DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, and Roschon Johnson. The O-line is not the best unit, but it will get better this season. The Bears' defense will be much improved from last season after only getting 30 sacks, only Carolina had less, but Montez Sweat will be around for a full season. Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards are returning at linebacker, and their secondary is bringing in Kevin Byard, and Jalen Johnson is a top 5 corner in the NFL. I don't expect the Bears to be a Super Bowl contender this year, but I will not be surprised if they win the division. At 5, I got the Cowboys going 11-6. The Cowboys were embarrassed in the wild card last season against the Packers, and coming into this season, they're basically a worse version of what they were. They lost Tyron Smith and Tyler Biadasz, who will be replaced by rookies Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe. Zach Martin is still good, but getting older, and Tyler Smith is growing into one of the best guards in the NFL. The running back room is probably the worst in football after losing Tony Pollard. They brought back Ezekiel Elliott and signed Dalvin Cook, but those guys are well past their primes, and Rico Dowdy and Deuce Vaughn aren't that great either. They still have Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, and will be in the playoffs as long as those two are around. The defense will be without DC Dan Quinn, but Mike Zimmer should minimize the drop-off, and they will always be one of the top units as long as they have Micah Parsons. Trayvon Diggs is coming back from injury, but they will be without Deron Bland for at least half the season. At 4, I got the Falcons going 11-6. The Falcons will have one of the best offenses in the NFL this year, upgrading from Desmond Ridder to Kirk Cousins at quarterback, and more importantly, they finally fired Arthur Smith. While Raheem Morris is a defensive head coach, they brought in former Rams quarterback coach Zach Robinson to be their OC. Bijan Robinson had a really good rookie year and will only get better. Kyle Pitts was one of the best tight ends coming out of college and was a Pro Bowler in his rookie season, but has been extremely underused since Arthur Smith came in. Same with Drake London. Both Pitts and London will have their talents used properly in this new offensive system, and the offensive line is one of the best units in football. The defense made a big splash, bringing in Matthew Judon and Justin Simmons. Not to mention they still have Jesse Bates and A.J. Terrell in the secondary. The front seven outside of Judon is weak, but Raheem Morris should get the most out of this unit. At 3, I got the Lions going 12-5. The Lions made it all the way to the NFC Championship last season and nearly made the Super Bowl before collapsing in the second half. Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the league's best receivers, and hopefully Jameson Williams can finally stay healthy and have his breakout year. Sam Laporta had a great rookie year, same with Jahmyr Gibbs, who has been lining up in the slot during training camp, so we could see Gibbs used as a gadget guy this season. Jared Goff has been a good game manager since entering Detroit, and the Lions have the best offensive line in football, returning all their starters except Jonah Jackson, but they brought in Kevin Zeitler to replace him. And most of all, they were able to return offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, as the Lions' success may not have been possible without him. Although the Lions got better as a team, the one thing that separates them from the next two teams is their defense. They added DJ Reader to the defensive line that already features Aiden Hutchinson, but their secondary is by far the team's biggest weakness. At 2, I got the Eagles going 13-4. I'm expecting the Eagles to bounce back after their late season collapse and embarrassing wildcard loss to the Buccaneers. They brought in Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio to be their new coordinators. Obviously, those guys aren't Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, but not a lot of people are. The Eagles signed Saquon Barkley, who will be playing behind a competent offensive line for the first time in his career. Even with Jason Kelce retired, they will still be one of the top units in the NFL. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert were already a free-headed monster in the receiving room, but now they added Jahan Dotson, who could be the perfect wide receiver free. The defense has gotten better after allowing the third most points per game last season. Jalen Carter was great as a rookie, but this year I believe he will be Defensive Player of the Year caliber. Hassan Reddick is gone, but Bryce Huff is a good replacement, and Nolan Smith could break out this year. The secondary is bringing back C.J. Gardner-Johnson and rookie corners Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. I'm not as high on Mitchell, as I think he has a lot of work to do, but DeJean was one of the best players out of this year's class and could become one of the best nickel corners in year one. And finally, for the first seed, I got the 49ers going 14-3. The Niners have one of the most complete rosters in football, and they are pretty much returning everyone from last year, minus Eric Armstead. Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams both had contract issues all offseason, but they will both be playing. Christian McCaffrey is coming off an Offensive Player of the Year. George Kittle is the best tight end in football, and although Brock Purdy is not a franchise quarterback, he does everything he's asked to. And of course, the Niners have a top 5 defense in the NFL, with Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, and Fred Warner being a free-headed monster in the front 7, plus newcomers like Malik Collins and Leonard Floyd, as well as Charvarius Ward and Talanoa Hufanga in the secondary. The only real weakness on this team is their offensive line outside of Trent. Overall, there is not much more you can say about the 49ers that hasn't already been said. That's all for today. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications.